Jourdan Blue sat backstage, his hands trembling as he clutched the microphone. The murmurs of the audience seeped through the thin walls, each sound pounding in his chest like a heartbeat. He closed his eyes and let the words of the song echo inside him. Hold on to me, 'cause I'm a little unsteady. This wasn't just a performance for him. It was a confession. Jourdan's life had always felt like a tightrope walk. His parents had separated when he was 12, leaving him torn between two worlds, neither of which felt whole. His father battled alcoholism, his mother worked 2 jobs to keep food on the table, and Jourdan found himself alone most nights, humming quietly in his room just to feel less invisible. Music became his anchor, the only thing that didn't abandon him when everything else slipped away. Now, standing on the edge of the America's Got Talent music room stage, Jourdan carried all those years of silence. Every ache. Every night he lay awake wondering if his family would ever heal. Every time he had to be stronger than he was ready to be. The host announced his name. The lights dimmed. And for the first time, Jourdan prepared to sing not for recognition, not for fame, but for survival. The first note trembled, thin and almost fragile. A ripple of concern passed through the judges' faces. But Jourdan didn't stop, he leaned into the tremor, letting his vulnerability bleed into every sound. As the melody of Unsteady unfolded, his voice cracked, but it wasn't weakness, it was raw truth. His tone carried the ache of a child calling out for comfort, the desperation of someone begging not to be left behind. The audience stilled. People leaned forward in their seats, breaths held, eyes widening. They weren't hearing just a cover, they were being handed a piece of Jourdan's soul. Flashes of memory surged through him mid-song. His mother weeping quietly in the kitchen after her double shift, thinking no one could hear. His father stumbling through the door, whispering apologies that were never enough. Jourdan, at 15, pressing his palms over his ears, singing softly just to drown out the shouting. He wasn't just singing the lyrics, he was reliving them. Each line carried a weight, each pause a scar. When he reached the chorus, his voice swelled with a mixture of strength and fragility, shaking the room with its honesty. Tears slipped down cheeks in the audience. One of the judges covered her mouth, visibly shaken. Jourdan wasn't singing for applause. He was singing to finally be heard. The last note lingered in the air like smoke. Jourdan lowered the microphone, chest heaving, eyes fixed on the floor. He couldn't bring himself to look at the crowd. He had stripped himself bare. What if they didn't understand? What if they turned away? But then, the silence broke. A single clap. Then another. And suddenly, the room erupted. Not in the usual cheers and whistles, but in something deeper. A standing ovation surged across the stage, judges rising to their feet, audience members wiping tears from their eyes. One judge leaned forward, his voice trembling. "Jourdan, that wasn't just a performance. That was, you. That was your story. And we all felt it." Another judge added, "There are singers who perform, and there are singers who heal. Tonight, you healed something in us. Thank you for being brave enough to bring us into your world." Jourdan finally looked up. For the first time in years, he didn't feel invisible. In the corner of his eye, he caught sight of someone in the crowd, a figure with tired eyes and a shaky smile. His father. Jourdan's chest tightened. He hadn't spoken to him in months, hadn't known if he would even come. But there he was, standing with everyone else, tears streaming down his face. Jourdan nearly buckled under the weight of it. This song had reached further than he imagined. Backstage, the adrenaline drained, leaving Jourdan weak. He sank into a chair, burying his face in his hands. He wasn't ready for what waited beyond that performance, for the conversations, the questions, the memories it had stirred. But then came a familiar voice. "Son." Jourdan looked up. His father stood in the doorway, hands stuffed into his pockets, shoulders hunched like he was carrying years of shame. His eyes were red, not from drink this time, but from something far heavier. I heard every word, his father whispered. And I know I don't deserve forgiveness. But I want to try. For you. For us. Jourdan's throat tightened. For years, he had dreamed of hearing those words, of his father choosing something other than the bottle. But now that they were here, he didn't know what to do. You left me feeling unsteady, Jourdan said, his voice low but steady. But tonight. For the first time, I believe maybe we can stand together again. His father's lip quivered. He took a cautious step forward, then another, until his arms wrapped awkwardly around his son. Jourdan stiffened at first, then melted into the embrace. For a moment, the years of pain didn't vanish, but they eased, replaced by something fragile yet alive, hope. Weeks later, the video of Jourdan's performance spread across the internet, millions of views pouring in. Messages from strangers flooded his inbox, people who had grown up in broken homes, who had felt the same ache of being left to pick up pieces they didn't break. Jourdan realized something, the song was no longer his alone. It had become a voice for anyone who had ever whispered, "Please don't give up on me." He returned to the AGT music room for a follow-up session. The host asked, "Jourdan, how does it feel to know your cover touched so many hearts?" He smiled, a quiet but certain smile. "For the first time in my life," he said, "I don't feel unsteady. I feel seen." And with that, he picked up the microphone again. But this time, he wasn't singing to survive. He was singing to remind the world, and himself, that even in brokenness, there is beauty. That even in the darkest silence, there can be song. The first note rang out, soft yet sure, carrying with it a truth that everyone in the room could feel: pain can break us, but music has the power to make us whole again. And Jourdan Blue, once a boy lost in silence, had finally found his voice.